Introduce us.
No.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first live lunch of 2022. Lot of focus right then, so that I didn't say 2021, but there you go. Here we are, the dream team, ready to smash another year. Are we feeling energized and ready for it?
Maybe.
Do you know?
Maybe next week.
It's like, isn't it weird how I think because we're not all in the office, like, obviously with Omicron, however you're going to say it, it's just going to be another one of those things I can't say. Coming back in after I was like, rah! And then no one was in here. And then I've just really struggled to get into that whole kind of New Year mindset. And like, even George right now, can you see he's fallen over again?
Oh yeah.
He's like, even George is like, no, I'm still like staying in bed till mid-afternoon. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird start. But I'm he's just picked him up again. But I'm looking forward to next week and us being able to get together and go through all the plans in detail and that sort of stuff. But it has felt like a bit of a weird first week back, and everyone I've spoken to, like a lot of people are kind of feeling the same. And I think a lot of it as well. I mean, we've talked about Ellie joining us for this episode, but she's off with COVID. Kim had it over Christmas. Jane's the only person in her house without it.
So far.
It's kind of like I think there's this real kind of everyone's struggling to get back into it, aren't they?
Yep.
Even the social media changes and all that kind of thing, there's just not much going on.
No. Everyone's still asleep.
So what are we going to do to wake them up?
Don't know. See,
Cool.
Can you feel the enthusiasm from us all?
Oh, I know.
Come on, wake up.
It's all good. It's all good. So, Jane, come on then. Let's talk about some social media news. Like I said, there's not much that's been happening, but what are some of the stories that you've picked up this week?
Like I said, there's not really a lot, but Instagram have been testing an algorithm-free newsfeed option thing. I don't know when it's going to roll out. Like I said, it's in testing at the moment. But so basically, you'll log into Instagram and you'll have three choices of how you want to view your newsfeed. So you can either have it set to home, which is basically as it is now. You can set it to following, which means you'll see all the people you follow first, and that's free of suggestions. So at the minute, sort of every fifth post or something has a suggestion in it, doesn't it, of someone you might want to follow. So it won't have that in it. And if you choose favourites, it will show you obviously your favourite people first. The only problem with it that anyone's noticed at the minute is the fact that you have to choose every single time you open the app. It's a bit like Facebook in that you could change it to see your recent posts first, but every time you go back in, it's gone away again. And I think the idea is that they'll think you'll give up in the end of actually choosing to view it in a different way, and therefore you'll see it their way, and you'll see suggested content. And that's what they want, is you to see their suggested content, basically, isn't it? But at least they're giving you the option.
Yeah, so I think they've said it's actually rolling out, but they're doing that thing a lot of tech companies do, where they kind of roll it out and test it at the same time and make updates. So I think they've started rolling it out, and everyone should have it by sort of June, July time. But what they've said is this is how it's going to work. These are three feeds, but we might change it all along the way. So they put that little caveat in there as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Anything else on the list?
Just one from TikTok actually. So at the minute, when you make obviously video, very popular. When you make a video for Facebook or somewhere else, there's always an assumption that it will be sound off. You have to optimize it because people watch it with the sound off. However, TikTok isn't like that. 88% of TikTok users say that they want the sound on. And therefore, they've launched this sort of new suggested series of information as to why you should put the sound on your videos and how to optimize it. And basically, it was saying that the research says you're 8 times more likely to have recall of a brand if it has brand sounds amongst it. So that's the thing, is you don't just want your brand logos and your images and your colors, you now need a brand sound as well. And if you can incorporate that strategically into your videos, apparently that will increase recall and people will follow your brand more.
What do you reckon to that, Mark?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to get the band going, aren't we?
Awesome idea. I hadn't thought of that. We can have a jingle.
Yeah.
Cool. Kim says she wants to know who the 12% are that are watching TikTok without the sound on. Kim is like the TikTok expert at Green Umbrella. She is all over that thing. But yeah, it's quite interesting when you think about like how people like they'll recognize a brand through colors and like even fonts and things like that will make you think of a brand. So it's just another sense, isn't it, to use sound? So, and I'm just trying to think of any examples, and there's probably
Coca-Cola.
I was Coca-Cola. I was thinking that what was that Phil Collins track that Cadbury's used with the gorilla
in the air.
There's
There's even things like Intel had that little sound, didn't they? You always know if something had Intel inside because it had the little Intel sound. Probably don't do that anymore.
That little jingle kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, Mark, when are you creating my little theme tune? I always thought, oh, Kim's just said MSN. That's another one.
Are you singing the theme tune?
Maybe.
Oh God!
Not today. I'm a bit croaky.
The Green Umbrella Choir next.
Why not?
Oh,
Maybe that should be our thing this year.
You heard me sing.
We've got singers, musicians now, haven't we? So we've got a few.
I bet we could do something.
Got DJ Dean.
Dean's working on a project at the minute, so you've said that, and he's just sort of sat across there, and he's like really focused and like really concentrating on what he's doing. So that's actually quite funny. And now he's got no idea what's going on. But yeah, I've always thought I needed like a good soundtrack to walk on stage to. So maybe that should be something that we look at. Personal brand and all that. Oh dear, amazing. So there was something else I saw with TikTok. So obviously TikTok is the app only. But what they've started to do is look at how they can go into sort of TV channels. And one of the things they've been doing, I think it happens more you see it more in the States than you do here. Like you're in a waiting room and there's just some sort of weird channel on the TV with like ambient video playing, and it might be ads or that kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or it might be like playing on a screen in a restaurant, and that I think that's the situation where you see it more in the US. Do you know what I'm talking about, or not really?
Yes,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So TikTok are now looking at basically working with a particular provider in the US to start taking their content into that. So in the same way now we're looking at, with your smart TV, you can tune into, you've got your Netflix channel on there, haven't you? And all that kind of stuff. I don't think it'll be long before we start to see TikTok content as just like another app you can use through your TV. It's quite cool, really.
Got the Facebook one already. Facebook videos and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So
I might even watch some stuff then.
Honestly, you'll love it, Mark. It's really
I have
fun.
re-downloaded the app, to be fair, as in TikTok, but still, yeah. Can't get into it. You're
just not the demographic.
I know, too old. Too old.
But like the usership on it is just like it's just smashed through YouTube even in terms of video consumption. So it's and they've put, I mean, they were doing this last year, but they've put some stuff in, some campaigns in, like recruitment, so people can use it from a recruitment perspective, but also from a learning perspective. So like learn with TikTok is like a hashtag, and there's loads of people jumping on that, doing like little tutorial videos, that kind of thing under that hashtag. So there's tons of stuff there. Kim's asked why you don't like it.
I wouldn't be able to put my finger on it. I don't know. I just She's asked it 3 times now.
She's
She's
asked
obviously
3
really,
times.
really wants an answer. I'll come back to you, Kim. I'll come
3
back with a
times.
formulated answer. A
The
critique.
thing is, sometimes things just don't feel right, though, do they? It's like, I think sometimes you just like you open up the app, and it's just like, yeah, I get this or I don't.
Yeah, I don't think I never think it feels as good as in terms of an experience as like Instagram or Facebook. Just the way it works and the UI and stuff. But there's it obviously does, because however many millions or billions of people are now using it.
Yeah,
It's not really.
and it's weird when you think how much Instagram have tried to. Yeah, when you think how much Instagram have tried to copy it, essentially, as well.
Yeah.
I think it's like we said before, we just don't like change. But for people consider us as being like a tech company, and I'm like, I don't see us as a tech company, but people have made that comment to me in the past. I think, do you know what? I'm not a tech person at all. I love social media. I love the power of it, what it can do. But yeah, it's interesting. Okie dokie. So the other thing that I've seen news-wise, this happened just before Christmas. So do you remember when Google for Jobs was being announced and being rolled out across the world, and no one knew when it was going to come to the UK, and I think it kind of rolled out over a couple of years. And at that time, because there was a bit of almost like a power play, like Facebook and YouTube had this video power play. Well, it was like Google and Indeed was starting to have this video power play. And at the time, Facebook kind of went, oh, there's something going on here. Let's jump onto this. And they created Facebook Jobs, which is their like internal job board. So they created it, and then they just didn't really do anything to develop it much. They did a couple of updates, but that was it. And it's just kind of sat there in the background. And it's been a great tool for, a local business who's just wanting to make that one hire. Let's say it's a local restaurant that needs a couple of waitresses to add to the team, or, a hairdresser's that's looking for someone to work on a Saturday morning, that kind of thing. It's been great in that situation. But for actual recruiters, it's not really been a very productive tool. Lots of people will apply, but you then can't actually make contact with those people again. They just don't respond to you. That's been the experience that we've found. That said, there are quite a few people that come to rely on this tool quite heavily, and the announcement just before Christmas is that they're closing it down outside of the US and Canada. So that Facebook Jobs things is just going to disappear. And I think for a lot of people, it's going to be, so what? Makes absolutely no difference to them. But I think there are people out there that have relied on that quite heavily in terms of trying to find new people in their area to come into the business, especially like for blue collar roles. So whether it's a recruitment agency, in Daventry, High Street, trying to find people for, some of the sites like in this area, they might have used Facebook Jobs knowing that the people that would see those postings were very local. There are also Facebook groups that were categorized as being sort of job groups, recruitment groups. That category is disappearing as well. So any plans Facebook had for kind of competing with Google for Jobs, Indeed, essentially they're shelving it. So if anyone has been dependent on that stuff, they need to look at Facebook ads, create like normal posts about these vacancies, and then essentially boost them locally, which obviously is something I would, I very, very rarely recommend that people boost posts. But I think in terms of a cost-effective alternative to using Facebook Jobs, which were essentially free, I think that's the only way around it at the minute for anyone that was using them. But it'll be interesting, like, I think it's the 22nd of February that it gets pulled. And I think it's one of those things where people will just try and log in on the 23rd and it won't be there. We'll probably get a few calls and questions at that point.
Interesting.
It's more and more argument for people that are recruiting regularly to look at their websites and make sure that they are definitely Google for Jobs friendly. So, I mean, Mark, I don't know whether it's worth you sort of talking about this bit, but it's just about making sure when the vacancies are added to your site, there's that bit of coding in the background so that Google can recognise it as a job, right?
Yes, but something called structured data. So, a blog is a type of structured data. Google knows that it's a post, it's a blog, and the job is a similar thing. There's some script in the background that just, gives it little sort of markers in there so it can pick it up. So yeah, people, obviously can check that. There's some structured data checking tools out there online. You can put, one of your jobs in from the website and it will tell you whether it's being picked up as a job as such. So yeah, if people, haven't got that functionality on the website, it's definitely worth having a look at and adding in there.
And it doesn't have to be massively expensive, is it? Like someone on a WordPress site, if they're like they'd speak to their sort of web designer, developer, there's loads of tools out there that are sort of, it's not something that's going to cost you thousands to get sorted, is it? Or it shouldn't be.
No, I mean, there's sort of in the box solutions. So we use a thing called WP Jobs Manager for some of our clients. Which is an all-in sort of system where people, they can obviously log the jobs. It's all Google for Jobs sort of compliant. Or there's other sort of plugins that if you're using a custom listing system, you can still add that functionality to it through other sort of plugins and things like that. So yeah, there's definitely options out there, and I'd imagine for not just WordPress but other platforms as well. Yeah.
Cool. Fab. Okay, so I mean that's pretty much it in terms of social media news, I think. I mean the only other stuff, it feels like the new year has started. Like yesterday and today, I found out about a few sort of mergers and acquisitions and that kind of thing that are happening like within the recruitment world, actually, with some of the software available there. But then we found out today Adobe are buying Content Cal. So Content Cal is a social media scheduler. It's our current favoured social media scheduler. Social media scheduler. God, that is hard to say. So that's quite interesting. Makes me wonder, like, what possibilities are going to come in terms of sort of integrations and that sort of stuff. We were talking about it earlier. Mark, you said there's like they've already got like Adobe has like a marketing product, which I didn't know about.
Yeah, I've never really massively looked into it, but they've got some. I think they call it Marketing Cloud as opposed to Creative Cloud. Obviously, we use Creative Cloud for our sort of Photoshop software and things like that. That's all part of that suite of packages. But interestingly, I was thinking about something else when you said about it earlier. They've rebranded Spark, which was like sometimes a free tool to enable you to create sort of social media posts and things like that. And there's a paid version, and there's different sort of options and things. But they've rebranded that to be Creative Cloud Express. And I just wonder if there's something going on in the background that obviously those kind of things will link up, and a bit like obviously things like Canva, where you've got functionality to do different things, whether it be creative or sort of almost scheduling things, whether they'll bring those things together on a lower level, with some of that functionality from sort of Creative Cloud Express and Content Cal and things like that. So it might be quite a good tool, that eventually comes together. Maybe that's the plan in the background.
Yeah, it'd be good. It would be really good if that happened. Do you know it's Tech Day today? Technology Day, apparently. So I was like, is that why all these announcements are happening, like yesterday and like last night and this morning? Because it's like there's almost like that space in the day where like everyone in the world is awake, like all these time zones are crossing over. But it made me just think, like, when you think about technology and the tech that we use, like, Mark, what's your favourite bit of tech?
PS5. Nothing work related.
What's your favourite bit of work related tech?
My Mac.
Your Mac.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing, right? When I think of tech, I think of something, something hard, something.
Rather than hardware rather than software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something tangible. Like for me, it's my iPad. It was like I really do I really need an iPad? Will I actually use it? Because how much I use my old iPad, I kind of went through little stints. I'd like use it loads, then not touch it for a couple of months. Because I was always using my MacBook. But this iPad, I just absolutely love. So what about you, Jane? What's your best bit of tech?
Probably my phone, actually, and my MacBook. But my phone's never out of my hand, other than when I'm using my MacBook. So I suppose, yeah, the whole world's available in your phone, isn't it?
And what about software?
Ooh.
Of all your apps and programs and things like that. So, like thinking from a business perspective.
Well, it's not necessarily favourite, but obviously, yeah, Creative Cloud is the thing that I use more than anything. So Photoshop, InDesign.
Yeah, I use Photoshop quite a bit as well, and Content Cal, and those are sort of the main things, and I like both of those, and
or WordPress if you're going down the other side. Obviously, that's a bit of software essentially, so couldn't do without any of them.
It's funny, isn't it? I'm like, I was thinking about it, and I don't have an answer. I'm like, what's the one thing that I'm like always using? And it's almost like from a software perspective, it's almost like I really love iOS right now. Like the way it works, I've got like the widgets and that kind of thing. It's like the way my apps are laid out, the apps on like that screen, okay, is like constantly updating dependent on like what I actually need to look at and what I've set as being my focus. So like all those widgets and everything else, it's kind of like that's probably my favorite thing because it's constantly giving me access to what I need the most. But yeah, any like one particular bit, like I love doing my podcast, but I don't really like the software. It's like it's not something, Zoom is great, but it's like I like StreamYard much better than Zoom, but we only really use StreamYard for this. For Zoom, I'm using like all day, every day. I can tell you things I don't like. Like I really don't like Teams. Really don't like Teams. I understand why, and it's like it's really important we use it, but I'm like Slack's better than Teams. But operationally, Teams is the better option. It just looks prettier as well, Slack. I just like it loads better. So Amanda's commented. So she said the phone's her favourite bit of tech, and maybe Canva for the software. And she said she can't jump on because she's scruffy and blog-tastic.
Fair enough.
She's having a blog-tastic day. So, Jane, are you looking forward to reading those articles now?
Absolutely, yeah.
No pressure, Amanda. Fantastic. So, okay. So the other thing I was going to ask you, so I always set loads of goals for the year between Christmas and New Year, and obviously I'll be sharing those with you guys next week when we all get together. Jane, you're not really into resolutions and that kind of thing, are you?
No, I've never made a New Year's resolution in my life. No, but I mean, in terms of goals, I don't really, everyone has a sort of, I'd like to be earning this or doing that, but they're not sort of fixed goals. They're just woolly. I'd quite like that sort of goals. So apart from buying my dream home, which I have just done. So I'm happy with that goal.
What about you, Mark? Are you like resolutions, goals, that kind of thing?
Nah. Take each day as it comes.
That's funny. I'm always like, this is what we're doing next. This is what's happening. This is what we're working to. And it's good because you guys always go, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And then that's it. And we go make it happen. So it's really funny when you think like how much we've done is like off the back of setting goals and targets and that kind of stuff. I think you guys like you really get into the tactical stuff. and the stuff that needs to happen strategically. But when it's like, let's set goal, you're like, see you later.
Yeah, tell us what we're doing.
But this is where like everyone has to have their role in the business, right? I've forgotten what I was listening to something over the Christmas break, and it was like, you know, every business needs to have these roles, and like, you know, the creator that's, you know, which I guess is like, that's the person setting the goals and that kind of thing. The people that are basically doing the work to fulfill the goals. And if you have too many of one thing, that's when you end up with a sort of a dysfunctional team. So it might sound like we're not aligned in having this conversation, but I think there's good reason that why on this particular thing we're not all on the same page, and that's what allows us to keep moving forward. But yeah, cool. Okay, has anyone got anything else for us today?
I've only got one thing. It's a little stat about video. Obviously, we know video is king. We've been saying that for a long time. But in the US, social user-generated video has now almost reached the same level of consumption as TV. So I just thought that was quite an interesting stat, really. I think TV is 18% of people's sort of online usage, and user-generated online videos are 16%. So yeah, probably won't be long before those overtake each other.
Amazing. I was another thing I was doing over the Christmas break was I was rereading so Ofcom do a report. It publishes like June, July time every year, and it's basically about how, you know, media usage in the UK. So, but you know, TV, radio, gaming, and social media, video, that kind of stuff. And I was just rereading it because I thought if you think like if it was published June, July, the data essentially is 12 months old at that point, 6 to 12 months old at that point. And now we're like another 6 to 12 months on from when that data was captured. And we've seen this massive growth on TikTok and, you know, social audio as well, which wouldn't have been in the report before, though I think Clubhouse was kind of mentioned in it, but it was very early days. We've had all these other platforms created since that was published. And I think actually we're just going to see, like, whereas if like the 2019, 2020, 2021 versions of that report, there wasn't massive changes. I think the 2022 version, when that comes out June, July, it's like we need to put that in the diary to make sure that we're checking it every day and we don't miss it, and we do something with that data when that comes out, because I think there's massive changes this year right now in terms of how people are using things. And we need to be, you know, jumping on that ourselves and educating our clients and the people that watch this on how to make the most of what we can learn from that data. Because all these stats, they're always US based, aren't they?
Yeah.
All the research is US or global. It's very like that Ofcom report's the only thing I see that I think is reliable that focuses on UK data. But yeah, now you know what I did over Christmas.
Yeah, the rest of us were just getting drunk and eating too much.
That's it. You were laying into the cheese, weren't you, Jane? And I was reading
always.
Ofcom reports. Mark was just there on his PS4.
Five.
Sorry. It's not my world, Mark. Sorry. Have you got a VR headset?
No, there's a new one just been announced though. I used to have one, but yeah, I couldn't get on with it. It makes me feel a bit weird. I think I've said that before.
Yeah.
But there is literally a new one. I think I saw it today. There's a new one for the PS5, so it's like meant to be next generation sort of thing.
See, I think that you're going to be into that, and it's going to be like the Clubhouse and TikTok conversation, only roles reversed. You're going to tell me how fantastic it is, and I'm going to be like, I just don't get it. Awesome. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. So let's consider today as a bit of a warm-up. Next week, we'll be back full of energy, ready to go. And we'll be ready to rock. Live lunch next Thursday, 12 noon. We'll see everyone there. In the meantime, everyone have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.